We're not going all the way back to the Bryant era or anything this week. We're just going back to the Saban era. A few years ago, Slade Bolden, former Crimson Tide wide receiver. Slade, part of Coach Saban's last national championship team, a great wideout for the Crimson Tide. And he joins us now. Slade, how's everything going as we're getting into October and really the meat of this Alabama football schedule?
Everything's going good, Roger. I appreciate you having me on here. It's funny you're saying we're not going to have any guys from Bryant days. I was like, golly, like don't say it because it makes me feel even older. Like I feel like it was yesterday that I was on campus playing for Coach Saban, but it's been a little while. I like to think it hasn't been, but it has. But everything's going great. I mean, just how this team has responded. It's almost been like a 180 from that first game. I'm so excited to see how the rest of this year plays out. I mean, just two huge back-to-back wins. Always nice beating up on little brother and then getting that revenge game, shutting old buddy up on the other side that wore number two. Actually, two guys that were wearing number two. Kind of kept them quiet, so that was great to see.
Yeah, it's been a good response. We'll stick with this current Alabama team for a moment. Obviously, things did not go well against Florida State. Didn't look like Alabama football for a bit. But how have you seen this team take steps forward in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I feel like they took full responsibility and probably did some self-reflecting on how they played. At the end of the day, it's not really a loss-win deal to me because at the end of the day, it's people lose. Like you're not gonna win every game, but it's how we lost, and I think that was the biggest concern for a lot of us, not only fans but former players, guys that knew kind of what the standard was or what we expected. But look, then again, it's not a Saban team. So we can't just dwell and reflect on that. But I think they responded exactly the way they should have. And things are starting to roll. We're building off momentum, and we're clicking on a lot of high cylinders here from definitely an offensive standpoint. We're looking very efficient. Ty Simpson's doing an unbelievable job, and defense definitely coming around, creating turnovers and just causing more havoc, which is just contagious. So I think we're just in a great spot. I'm honestly was more worried about this weekend than I was against Vandy, just because you have two big wins. You kind of have that hangover mentality, is what we called it, and then you're going into a trap game essentially, similar to what happened when we went to Oklahoma last year, but. I think we're just playing so well and so efficient that there's really no doubt in my mind that we don't come out and win the rest of this regular season.
Of course, you were a fast guy on the offensive side of the ball that wore number 18. Right now, we got a number 18 on the defensive side of the ball that's also pretty quick to the football, had a couple of interceptions. Are you a big fan of Bray Hubbard?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. It's funny because there's some other similarities other than the AT, right? Even though I actually did my first semester play safety, coach moved me over there. Let me tell you, one of the hardest, worst best times I've had that first semester early enrollment playing safety. But so I've been there before, but not to the level of Bray Hubbard. But yeah, I love the way he's playing. I think even though that play that he got caught on camera, somewhat what we call loafing, we all loaf. It happens. There's been times where I didn't finish a block or I didn't follow the play. He just got caught. But I love the fact that he didn't make excuses for it. He took full responsibility and he just come out and played at a very high level that we all knew he could play at. So I love the way he's playing, and I love the way he's representing that number too.
So he's 18 number now. You, of course, signed with Alabama. Going back a few years ago, you were like some of those guys in the video games when they just have the ATH next to their name, the athlete, because you
You're
did a
right.
little bit of everything in high school. And you mentioned first starting at safety. What was your plan once you decided to come to Alabama in terms of a playing position? What was the vision you were sold on in Alabama?
Well, at the time it was Brian Dable. He was offensive coordinator. He brought me in and did exactly what I expect or I'd hope for from any school that recruited me because I didn't really need all the love and all the special treatment. I just wanted to see how I'd fit in your offense, how you're going to utilize me, and if I was going to have the opportunity to play. And he basically showed me exactly how I'd fit in the offense in the slot, being able to play receiver and all the different routes that he had in the offense, but also what he ran when he was with the New England Patriots were guys similar to me, like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Amendola, and obviously those things were compared. So I was like, okay, perfect. I have a great uh, opportunity to play an offense that I think fits me best. But it's funny because as an athlete, I was played mostly quarterback in high school, but I played some running back. I played receiver, and then every now and then I would play a little safety and corner. So I guess that's why coach thought it was a good idea to move me to safety. Really, we just lost a bunch of guys to the draft that year, and he just needed somebody to fill in a spot. But yeah, I think doing all those things and also playing on the other side of the ball truly helped me develop. And obviously, my plan was if I want to be the best player, best man I can be, I got to go play with the best, get coached by the best, and compete with the best. And that was the best place to be at the time to do that. And it still is, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, I was always going to be whatever the team needed, and whether it's special teams, whether it's wildcat quarterback, running back, you name it, and even obviously safety at a short time. Because at the end of the day, I just want to win. I want to help the team win, and that's kind of how it happened. And luckily, allowed me to move back to receiver, which was a lot more comfortable. But I still had a lot of growth. I still had a lot of things to learn. I always joked that I couldn't even get off the press my freshman year, playing against some of the guys I did. But being in that room with the guys I was in, it made me learn quickly. It made me compete at a higher level, and ultimately made me the best receiver I could be.
How did being a high school quarterback really help you as a wide receiver?
Well, that's one thing I tell guys all the time is if you're a receiver or even as a quarterback, you want to be on like the same telepathic wavelength as your receiver or quarterback. And having that, you know, I guess core quarterback mindset, knowing how important it is to understand your receivers, understand how they're going to come out of their routes, how they're going to break in and out of their transitions at the top of the routes, their speed, all these different things, and also their just IQ too. And that's one thing that I was able to learn playing receiver is knowing coverages, knowing how certain DBs play certain leverage, using that to my advantage, not being the most skillful guy, most athletic guy, and the fastest guy, and basically using my football IQ to find holes, use DB's leverage against them and basically be a deceiver, not a receiver, and deceive DBs to thinking I'm going one way and the other. And having, obviously a good relationship with my quarterbacks, spending time with them, it just helps because they know what I'm thinking. I know what they're thinking.
Yeah, sticking with the quarterbacks for a minute. I know when you signed with Alabama, you make that decision because you want to be surrounded by a lot of great talent. But can you believe the starting quarterbacks in your time in Tuscaloosa? Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, Bryce
Yeah.
Young. That's unreal talent.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts was
Yeah,
not
that's right.
playing.
Yeah, your freshman year. Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy, and I'm super blessed to being able to play with those guys, not just the quarterbacks, but everybody I played with. But there was no excuse. I mean, you had legit, just unbelievable first round talent throwing you the ball every day, and then on Saturdays, there was no reason why you shouldn't be able to make a play. But it's funny because I get asked that a lot, right? Who's the best, or who did you actually play with? What are the quarterbacks you play with? And I'm like, well, which one? I mean, I played with uh, four just unbelievable players and guys, so it was super cool, and being able to not only catch balls from them, but also learn from them and like see how they went about studying the film and studying defenses and their process of getting better and not only mentally but physically. I think that all helped me as well.
So you go through the 2019 season, and again, you know you're going to have a really stacked team in 2020. Then all of a sudden, in March, just right as practice is about to begin, the COVID-19 pandemic. How did you manage that summer, and then getting into that fall, the daily testing, and all that went with that year? Plus, you played an All SEC schedule. It couldn't have been tougher for you guys, but
Yeah.
still an undefeated season and a championship.
Yeah, it was like the worst best time ever. I think going into our 2019, or it would have been 2020 spring training. It's funny, we always have a practice before our spring break, and then we come back for spring training. Savings thing, I never understood it, but I guess it kind of keep the guys on their P's and Q's. But we go to our meeting for that first practice before spring break, and we're like, hey, we heard about it in the news, social media of COVID, and that was the first time that we're like, hey, we're not going to have a spring training. So we're like, honestly, being 20 years old, I was like, great. That means we're going to have some time off. We're going to have a longer spring break or whatever. Because I always thought spring training was tough. It was good for young guys, but older guys, which is my going into my third year, kind of solidified. It was never the best time, but it was strange because when we came back, we were home for like 2.5 months, and really a lot of unknowns, right? We don't even know if we're going to have a season. We're trying to figure out, and I give so much credit to Coach Saban, Coach Ballou, and at the time Matt Ray, who was and Jeff Allen over our kind of training, athletic training, and Coach Saban just trying to figure out. That's what he always did best, was adapting to the times, and not necessarily he always liked to adapt to the change of times, but that was you had to adapt to that, and the different workout groups, the how we had to go about practice, how we had to go to about being in the facility, not being in the facility. I think not only did we do a good job from a team aspect of dealing with that and not knowing whether or not we're gonna have a season, but also just from an individual standpoint, I feel like everybody came together and was like, "Hey, this is something that we don't know, but we're going to make sure that we do everything in our power to make sure that if there is a season, or because we knew we had a great team like every year, I felt like, but I felt like we all did things individually or as in groups outside of mandatory, uh, team affiliated things to get better and to deal with the times and to make sure that we weren't getting COVID, or if you already had it, to be smart or whatever that looked like. It was wild, and then obviously once we got to training camp or fall camp, I guess you'd say, it was a lot longer. It was every other day instead of every day. And, we still, every week, it seemed like we didn't even know if we were going to play, because the opponent, the opposing team may have guys out. So it was strange, but I think we did everything we could. We took full responsibility, and we did the most Bama thing ever. Everybody got Apple Watches to keep up with our workouts during the summer. So, uh, that helps, right? Not every team is allowed to do that, but or have the funds to do that. So we definitely took advantage of everything that we had to our disposal to make sure that we were ready when that time came. And luckily we were, and we ended up having just unbelievable season. That was the first true summer with Baloo and Matt Ray. And I'm telling you, we were so much stronger, more explosive than everybody. And I just don't think everybody did what we did to prepare for that season. And not only were we super talented, but we just out dominated everybody. And that's why we not only went undefeated, but we went undefeated the way we did.
Yeah, and you scored a touchdown against Ohio State national championship. Great moment for you. I imagine another one of the great moments you had. One of the craziest Iron Bowls we've ever seen at Jordan here
Yeah.
in 2021. Just tell us about the poise that Bryce had leading you down to tie that game, and then everything that happened in overtime.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time we play in Jordan Air, it's always something, right? That place, I don't know what's going on. Some voodoo, some spirituality underneath the stadium, over the stadium. Who knows? It's always something playing there, and we know that, right? We've lost there in 2019, and going into 2021, we had an unbelievable team again, right? Obviously that team made the national championship, and I think Auburn was maybe 6-4, 6-5, or whatever it was. They may have barely been over 500, and they always play like immortals. I swear, like when we play them, they become a different team, and that's normal when we play teams like that in general. We're always going to get everybody's best game, and they threw a lot of different things at us that game. Obviously, the environment there is so much fun. It's so loud, but it's almost like it pisses you off too, because you're playing Auburn. But it is a great environment. But Bryce just you just understanding that no matter what, the game's never over. You got to take each play by one, like just it's a play by play mentality. It's an inch by inch game, and yeah, it doesn't matter if the first three and a half obviously until about a minute left. Nothing was going our way. And the poise, I guess, not only of Bryce, but our coordinators, Coach Saban, us as players outside of Bryce, we knew that it's not over till that clock hits zero. And I think just having a good game plan, working all the different types of scenarios, whether it's, you're down six and it's a minute and a half left and you're either on the 30 on you're on our end zones 40 or even backed up to the two like we were, you go through those, you prepare for those. So the moment's not too big and you've seen it before in practice and other game situations. So, I mean, just having that poise and, being able to, kind of rely on your teammates too to make the plays and take advantage of the opportunities given. The fight's not over. What's the saying? It's not over till the fat lady sings.
Yeah.
So, obviously we go and we tie it up, but just four more overtimes. It was crazy. I mean, it was really a testament to our just overall team mentality, being able to just go through that adversity and come out on top. It was a wild game for sure.
It really was. Alabama gets the win there, a game that, and then following that, the Georgia game in the SEC championship. Bryce wins the Heisman Trophy, and unfortunately, a tough loss in the rematch against Georgia in the national championship. And then that was it for you at Alabama. Just when you look back to your time getting to wear the number 18, what are you most proud of your Alabama days?
Man, that's such a great question, Roger. It's so many things that I could say. I would say the most proud I am of my time there at Alabama. It wasn't the wins, it wasn't the championships. It was just the relationships that I built. With my teammates, with the coaching staff, the training staff, and then operations, behind the scenes people. That's things that I can forever have and take with me. Obviously, I can go with the overtime touchdown against Auburn, national championships touchdown. I mean, those were obviously really cool, but they last for only a certain amount of time. But those relationships, I think that's the most thing I'm proud of. And also, but for me personally, I think and I find it hard to talk about myself in this way because I thought I was going to play in the league for 10 years and my time wasn't going to be over. There's, the best is yet to come, right? But I think for me personally, being someone who wasn't supposed to play, was in a locker room with just absolute dogs, and just going through that, being patient, continuing to put my nose to the ground and work hard every day, and being able to create opportunities for myself to play at the highest level. I think that's selfishly, individually, what I'm most proud of myself for doing. But definitely just the people and the relationships that I had was the most special.
Tell fans what you're up to these days.
Well, I am in the real world, unfortunately. I mean, I still like us right now. I try to uh, talk about football and watch football as much as I can because at the end of the day, it's my true love, and nothing's ever going to truly replace that. But I am an employee benefits consultant. I'm in insurance. I work for a company out of Higginbotham in Fort Worth, Texas now. And it's funny because I thought playing professional football or being a professional athlete was the only way to really truly create generational financial success. But it turns out you can actually work for a company and do that as well. So it's a blessing. It's obviously super different, and it's been a hard learning curve and adjustment for me. But at the end of the day, I'm super blessed and thankful because it's funny. If it wasn't for football and Bama, I wouldn't even be here. So I'm just super thankful that the Lord has put me through. And I didn't put me through. I always say it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And all the things that I've gone through has put me in a position I am today, and I'm super grateful.
That's awesome. We're getting those opportunities, and we look forward to seeing you as much in Tuscaloosa as you can or watching the Crimson Tide on the road. As Slade, just thank you for the time you've given us today and all the best moving forward. We'll talk to you again down the road. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roger. I appreciate it. Roll Tide.